I'm sure most of you have heard people say, or have even said it to yourself at some point in your life, that wow, like I used to be so smart in secondary school, I was the best, I was the valedictorian, I got so many awards, and all of a sudden now in university everything is just like everything is upside down. I'm not as good as I used to be, like I'm not smart anymore, I'm not this, I'm not that. Like, maybe you need to calm down. I feel like a lot of people are clouded with being smart, being smart, being smart. But the best students aren't the smartest students. The best students are actually the most disciplined students. What separates people from like being the top or the average is not that because they have bigger brains or they're smarter or their IQ was just God just blessed them and God didn't bless you. It's more so that these people recognize that they have to be disciplined. These people recognize that they have distractions, they have weaknesses, and like they don't want that to bring them down. A lot of people feel like smart people are not distracted by their phones. They're not distracted. Everyone has distractions. Smart people and disciplined people are people that actually sit down and say, okay, this is my distraction. Is it my phone? Is it Netflix? I don't want it to deter me from success. So you need to stop focusing on smart, but now actually think of working harder and being more disciplined, being more consistent. And that's why I've decided to make this video, because I feel like I've heard a lot of people say she's just smart, that's why she's passing. But yeah, like there are lots of smart people. You are smart. People feel like, oh, like you're just dumb, or like that's not it. You're just not disciplined enough. And that's why I want to give you tips that I pray that you actually work on, and come and share your testimony in this comment section. You know, I'll punch you. But yeah, welcome back to my channel. It's Gigi and I'm back with another video. Please like, comment, share, and most importantly, get your papers and pen, because I want to yap so that you pass. But just kidding. Anyways, this video is going to be in 3 series. The first one, I'll just give like general tips to study for like anyone doing whatever course you're doing, law, medicine, like whatever course you're doing. And then the next 2 series will be for preparing for your MBBS exam, part 1, which is for your first MB, and part 2, which is for your second MBBS exam. So stay tuned, because there's going to be a lot of hopefully life-changing like information. So yeah, let's get into this video. Step 1 is paying attention in class. I feel like a lot of people don't want to hear this. Paying attention in class actually makes half of the work done. Lecturers are actually really tricky, and they do this thing where like most of their notes are like PowerPoints, and then like is what they say in class that are detailed, and you can't even blame them. How many people are they teaching? How many exams are they marking? How many exams are they even setting up questions for? So you don't expect their notes to be as detailed. That's why like a lot of them keep on chanting, read textbook, read your textbook. But if you listen in class, if you do most of the work, so that when you now go back to study these notes, everything is easier. Let me confess, in my 100 level, I loved biology, but like I didn't enjoy it so much because we were learning abstract stuff in my understanding. So most of the times I didn't go for the classes. I didn't feel, because I was putting so much work. But that was not my best. I feel like I could have done better than I did. For my 400 level, I did this thing where I had to challenge myself. So I attended, like, if you had 100 classes, like 90, just so that I could pay attention and like take notes, like take little notes just from what the teachers are saying, because we don't have our notes like maybe by the time the teacher is teaching. So maybe like later in the day we actually get your notes, so you don't know what's omitted, you don't know what you might find in note. And that's why some people go back, and when you're reading notes, it's like, I remember a thing this teacher said, but it's just not in this note, but you don't remember because you didn't write it down. So step 1 is actually paying attention in class. Pay attention. It makes reading when you're back home easier. Try it for a week, like listen in your class, listen to what the teacher is saying. It's just not about just attending the classes. Number 2, like I said, is taking notes in class. When I mean taking notes in class, I don't mean doing something like writing word for word they say. And like, I think one thing that people do is actually record classes. How many of you really go back to your 2-hour, 1 hour, 30 minutes recording? It just feels like a waste of your time to listen to what the teacher has said. So we use that as, oh, I'll just record the class, or record the class for me. But we don't go back to this stuff. Like, let's be real with ourselves, because you feel like, oh, I have a lot to read. Like, when are you going to go back to that thing? You know what? Prove me wrong in the comment section. I want to see someone that has recorded a 2-hour class or an hour 30 minutes class and has actually like gone back to like listen to the recording like consistently. So that's your method and it has worked for you. I want to see. Surprise me, like for real. So like just take little notes in class, little notes. It could just be on your notes app, it could be on a piece of paper, just like take little notes in class. The next thing you want to do is reading the notes they taught you in class today, within 48 hours of it being taught. Like it might sound, oh my god, what if I learn 10 notes in a day? Like for us medical students, you can learn a good as 13 notes in a day. It sounds very funny and like almost impossible, but the teachers that they say today's the day for you, and they're ready to do you get? So like you might have a lot of notes, so just break it down. But it's more advisable if you're able to read the notes you were taught at least within 48 hours. So imagine you've listened to somebody talk about this and this, the physiology, the anatomy, the whatever, and then you now go back with that same note, and you're like, reading will be faster, reading will be easier. You are going to use ChatGPT less because you understand things more, and then that way you can cover up more stuff. But if you say, oh okay, let me use Gigi's method, and you just keep to reading the note they taught today but you didn't attend the class, you're going to be like you're like reading is more tense, is more annoying, is longer, and then like you now have shorter time to read the other notes. Say you have a lot of notes, so it's more advisable. That's what I do, to read that notes like that particular day or the next day, or just watch videos on it even if you don't have the notes, so that when you now finally get the notes, because some lecturers don't send their notes too early, when you now finally have that note, you're able to almost go through it like so fast, which is very helpful. So you tend to cover more notes. It might sound like hard. I've been in situations where we don't get the notes for like almost a week, maybe because a lot of people were misbehaving in class and the lecturer feels like, oh, we're going to punish you. So it's like, now that you have short notes from what you've like done in class, and during your spare time you listen to or watch videos about it, whenever they send that note, it's like lesser workload. It almost feels like you've read everything, because what more could they teach? You're just reading the notes to maybe know how to write it in your exam. Then step 4 is actually, how do you actually now read? People have different methods, but what works for me is that because I have like my iPad, what I do is when I read, I like highlight. I used to be a read and write. I used to feel like, oh, if I don't write this thing, like, you know, when you read, oh, it now is the name of a person, maybe now the thing I'll not write in my notes is it now is the name of a person, etc. And it doesn't help in like situations where like teachers give you so much notes. We used to have like 120 slide notes, and imagine reading, and there are days where you just want to lazy read, you just want to read on your bed, but like it was so hard for me, because how can I read on my bed and write? It's like I just wanted to scroll through the notes, but I had set my brain in such a way that even if I wanted to scroll through the notes and read everything and understand it, I would feel like I haven't read it because I hadn't written anything down. And I realized how useless that was, because it's like you're taking so much of my time. So God bless my mommy, when I was able to get an iPad, I had to slowly train myself, guys. It was so difficult to say, okay, I now highlight like the things I would write down, and I'll tell my brain that like as I'm highlighting it, imagine me writing it down. So then I started to get used to it. So now all I do is just like, once I like read the notes, I pick up my pen, I feel like this is important, I highlight. If I feel like there's a word I don't know the meaning, I Google it and then I write it like there, like I just zoom in and write. So I feel like it's a lot easier for me. And many people may not have this, but just when you're trying to make notes, you know, when you're reading, try to make them really short. You have to train yourself in a way that like you write the whole notes. A lot of people read without even writing anything, and it works for them, but this is what works for me. Like I feel like highlighting it down or writing it down, or have sticky notes for it that you actually don't misplace. Have them like, and just like write them down. So then that way, like, you've read the notes they sent that day, where your memory is even the freshest. So now you have information from what you learned in class, you have information from your little notes like you took from when the lecturer was teaching. You now have read the notes and you've highlighted stuff. This highlighting thing comes in play when you're trying to revise for your exam, but we'll get into that a bit later. I mentioned something about lazy reading, which is something that I will not say I just used to do, especially when I used to get really exhausted, but I told myself that I have to read that note today. So it used to feel like I just want to take some take something off. But one of my professors, Professor Salu, he taught us pharmacology. He said something to us, like he's always saying it, but I'm sure he doesn't realize he says it a lot. But he just says like it's better to do the bigger work now and then rest later. So study that notes very well. Study it very deeply. Maybe use your textbook if you want to. Watch that video that night. The same night you're doing like all this bulk reading, right? You're reading the stuff they taught you in class. Sit down with that notes, read it well, read it and try to understand it. Don't just keep the ones you don't understand. If you don't understand, ChatGPT is my baby. Ask AI, like there are lots of AIs, watch videos on it, watch animations on it, things that like help you like keep these things well. Look for your textbook, read your textbook on it, make notes on it, especially like pharmacology, guys. It's like I will get into it later, actually, when I'm talking about preparing for your second MBBS exam for the current 400 level students. We'll get into that, but just for everyone, just do the big work now. Don't just read your notes and just highlight I'm tired or one thing, and then like when you're now trying to revise for exam, you're realizing that osmosis, what does this mean? And you have to like check Google for it, or what is this or what is that. So you have to like do your big work late and like earlier on, so when you're revising it's easier. One thing is that like I noticed for myself is that I don't understand the meaning of this word, I Google it, it's like okay, and then I just move on. But then write it instead, write the meaning of that word beside that word, right? So that when you're coming back to that notes, it's easier. It's like, you just see this word, I'm like, I remember googling this is the meaning there. But for me, I will leave it, and then when I'm not trying to come out and read that note for exam, I'm just like, what was this word now? But I read it before, I just can't understand it. I start to get like overwhelmed, frustrated, and these are things that like stresses you on later, where you don't even want to be stressed. And then in that whole process, you start to feel like, Jesus, something I googled, I can't remember, and then it's like, how did I remember the notes itself that I read? So you have to like do your big work earlier on, so that like along the line you just have like little things to do. One thing I think I should have said earlier is that you should try to make a list of the notes. Anatomy, we learned head, we learned neck, we learned arm. Like write it down, like the topic for the topic, so that when you're reading, like you're checking stuff off your boxes. I do it for all. I still have literally on my note app, I have module 1 from my 200 level, all the notes down, anatomy, physiology, this. I basically just have everything written down. It's not like I need those stuffs now, like because they're old, but like just write them down. Like it lets you know that, okay, I have 10 notes, I've read just 2, and I have 2 weeks in my exam. Now I need to be reading 2 per day if I want to finish in 5 days. Like some people, like I was speaking to my friend, said it's really scary because it's like, whoa, like there are a lot of things. But like for me, it helps me like know that, I need to plan to do this better, because by the time you see all your unticked boxes, you realize that you need to be moving faster than like you are right now. But then like if you don't do it that way, like in your head it's like, I read so much today, like I understood, I read 5 notes. Meanwhile you haven't read 15, and that's not your fault. But when you have something that keeps you accountable, then that way like you're able to say, okay, I read 5, well, good for me. How about the remaining 15? How do I now go about it? So that's basically that for that. Next is about like planning for your revision. So like usually for me, I'm going to use how like in 200 and 300 level, we used to be giving like a week before exam. But for 400 level, spoiler alert, there's nothing like a revision week. You finish classes on Friday, your exam is Wednesday or like Monday, anyone, depending on however they feel. So you always have to be prepared. So one thing I do is that like when I'm realizing that my exam is probably next week, 2 weeks back, or like the 2 weeks before the exam, I will share the courses. So if I'm doing 5 courses, I'm going to give like 2 days per the course. So that's, I need 10 days. So I plan that like by 10 days before my exam, I should have finished revising this thing. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I think we need to realize that like you have to be delusional. I'm sorry, you just have to be. You can't set goals you were setting in your 100 level for your 200. things are bulky, everybody's running faster, that they're flying, you're still crawling. It's like you can't be, oh, I understand when I read it for 2 hours. You don't have the luxury of time to sit down and study these things for 2 hours, 3 hours before you understand. You need to move fast. There's no I'm going to do it later. You need to do it now. I'm sorry, but that's just all. Like, there's nothing else you can do. You have to push yourself. You have to push more than you usually do. The only way you realize that you can do more than you're doing now is if you actually try. You can't use the strategy you used in secondary school to conquer university. You might fail, but God forbid, like, that's not your portion. So with me, I say, okay, no matter what, I do this thing where hematology, I have 2 days to study to revise hematology. And I know that I must revise hematology because in the next day, I have to start a different course, maybe chemical pathology. And I know that if I don't finish that hematology, the night before the exam, I will have a lot of hematology I haven't read. Or let me use easy courses. Let's just say anatomy and physiology. So I know that my anatomy exam is Monday, my physiology exam is maybe Tuesday. And now I know that, oh, I need to study anatomy, I need to study physiology. And I know that I only have 2 days, because when you have a list of your notes, when you have a list of your courses, you're able to plan ahead of time. So you say, oh, I'm going to study anatomy for just 2 days, and you keep to it, because you know that if you don't finish anatomy, you can't carry it over to the next day because you start a different course. It's like pressure on yourself, but it's good pressure. Like, there's pressure in everything. You have to work. You have to work. Nobody is going to spoon feed you. You just have to. So that way, like, you know that you're reading hematology, even if hematology is 100 notes. By the time you have told yourself that you have those 2 days, your body will adapt. Your body is going to adapt. Like, guys, for my MBBS exam, I did miraculous. God did miraculous things. I was reading 40 notes in a day, 50 notes. Like, I didn't think it's so laughable, because I remember in my 200 level MBBS exam, when I was preparing, somebody asked me, how many notes are you reading per day? But my plan then was to read 10 per day. And even that 10, I used to feel like, Jesus, I'm reading 10 notes per day. Like, clap for me. Guys, I was reading a good 40-something, 50-something notes in a day for my MBBS exam, because I knew that was the last day I had for that topic. And if I go to the next day, I won't have time. Everything will pack. I imagine carrying yesterday's work to today's work. That means today's work, you carry it to tomorrow. How about tomorrow? Tomorrow is going to suffer until eventually you've exhausted your revision period. So it's like, put pressure on yourself, but leave days for surprises. So let's say you have 5 courses, right? Sorry, I'm explaining this thing deeply because I really want you to get it. So you have 5 courses and you need 2 days to study for them. So plan, which is 10 days in total. So plan that you're going to use 2 weeks to revise this. So you have 4 days. That's because of 2 weeks to 14 days. And then leave those 14 days for stuff that you did not finish. Do you get? So you have to leave time for surprises. And which is even literally the next, like, point. Leave room for surprises. A lot of lecturers are so good at, course rep, send them 3 notes that I didn't send before, or I'm adjusting this note, or all these little things. So you have to always leave room for surprises. It's not like you plan and like your last revision day is the night before the exam, and then they drop a note and everything is just scattered, because it's like, wow, where is this coming from? I put so much effort. This is the first time, like, I feel like I'm doing this, and all of a sudden, like, you have new notes and you feel, and it's not those ones that will not come out, the ones you say, I can't do it again. And one thing I've always noticed is that a lot of people, is when it's the time for exam, times where people are revising because they were more disciplined, is when you're trying to now finish the notes you didn't finish then. But if you were reading daily, you have to plan for everything. You don't have to overwork yourself, but you have to plan. Planning makes things easy. If you plan that day that you are taught that note, you're going to listen in class, you're going to make short notes, you're going to go back to read, you're going to highlight your notes, you're going to plan before revision, like you're going to use so amount of days to study, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. It makes everything easier in hindsight. And how do you revise? Before I go to like the whole general stuff and summary, how do you revise in general? When I revise, I used to feel like because I've read those notes and maybe like 10 weeks ago or even 2-3 months ago and it's now close to exam, I revise those notes all over again. But now the reading is easier, because even when you're revising, you have highlighted things that is already standing out to you because it's highlighted. You have little jottings that, like, once you want to zoom in that, oh, what did I write here? You have notes from the stuff you listened in class, the little notes you took. You get what I'm saying? So you have things that just makes it easier. So you have definitions to meanings that you like, or meanings to like words you had to Google. So it's like it's easier and it's faster. And don't dwell deeply in revising and say, oh, like you're reading the notes or you've read this notes. Be confident in yourself. That's the thing I feel like people lack. It's like, oh, I read this note 3 months ago. I do not remember it at all. But be confident in yourself, be confident in your skills, be confident in your choice. And it's like when you're reading these notes, don't dwell like and spend 3 hours reading one particular. I know there's some notes that are just really, really long and horrible like that. But you have to plan, because when you stress on one, you suffer the others, and before you know, you have to push stuff to the next day. So what I usually do in my revision period is that, like, I revise as much as I can revise, and sometimes, girl, boy, like, you don't finish all that stuff. That's why, like, you're left 4 days or 3 days or even 2 days that, like, you can, like, now go and make up for the stuff. So the night before the exam, basically what I do is, like, I'm studying past questions. Please, past questions are your best friends. All those kids that say, oh, I'm going to report to this lecturer that students are using past questions, go and cry in your wardrobe. You're actually sad, because past questions not only help you, like, it's not about, oh, using past questions to cheat and all them rubbish. It's that, like, they give you an idea of how this exam is going to be. Imagine coming into uni and you have no idea on past questions, and, like, you've studied so much, and then you go and see a technique of a question that is like, oh wow, like, I never thought like this could, like, be this. Like, you have to be really serious with yourself. Study past questions like almost your life depend on it. I'm not saying study only past questions. I'm not saying don't read at all and just skip straight past questions. You equally as good as people that not study at all. But, like, study smart. Study really smart. Imagine you've taken notes, you've read your highlighted jottings and everything, and then, like, you're now studying past question. It now feels like, wow, okay, now they asked this, they asked that. So you're now going back to just revise this stuff or answer the past question. Unlike someone that hasn't read anything at all, or has just read this note once, doesn't have any highlights, and you're scrolling through hundreds of notes trying to look for where this was, and you are the advantage because you're probably highlighted them. So you have to just be, like, disciplined and smart in, like, whatever you do, like, smart in your decisions. So the night before, you're trying to study past questions, you're trying to read the stuffs you highlighted, you're trying to go over stuffs, because obviously, even when you're highlighting, there are notes that that you can asterisk and say, this is something I really, really have to read like 2-3 times before, like, I really, like, grasp, like, the whole thing. So, like, the night before, this is something, like, you want to be doing. And leave time to sleep. Please sleep, rest. Don't kill yourself. Guys, I don't used to eat, and it's really horrible, but I don't want to talk about personal stuff because I'll probably just you guys, like, another time. But just focus on yourself. Do better for yourself. And, like, the discipline part of it is just stay consistent. Like, you have 7 days in a week. You can read, like, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Like, it's not like I'm letting you read like 10 hours a day. Like, you can dedicate 2, 3, 4 hours into reading. Don't listen to people that tell you that as a medical student you need 8 hours of reading. If you're not reading 8 hours a day, I had a lot of lecturers say that. Maybe that was their experience, but they feel like, oh, if you're not reading more than 8 hours a day, you're not ready yet. But boy, we close by 5. By the time we drive to the hostel, or go to the hostel, or go to wherever you live, get ready, sleep, come back, eat dinner, time is gone, and then you have to wake up early to meet up school. So don't listen to people. Set realistic goals for yourself. But this is very controversial, because I said be delusional. Be delusional in that push yourself. Like, you might think, oh, I can only study 10 notes, but, like, maybe you can actually study 30. Let me not be funny. Not like 30. But you might think, oh, I can only study 2 notes this night. But you can actually push yourself and study 3, 4. Don't overwork yourself in that 3 and 4 you're studying. You're not understanding anything, no boy. Just that, did you say we should just do everything today? you're as good as somebody that didn't even open that note. In fact, you're not as good as they're better than you because they're probably sleeping and gaining energy and all this stuff. Another thing to do is protect your focus. Like, what distracts you? Is it your phone that distracts you? Is it food that distracts you? Is it sleeping, or is it TikTok? Are you always feeling tired? If you're always feeling tired, go downstairs, walk around, read, do something that excites you before you go to read. Is it your phone? Put your phone upstairs, give it to your friend, put it on DND, don't take it to wherever you're reading. Is it TikTok that distracts you? Do that whole, I think you read for 20 minutes, take a 3 minutes break, or read for 25, take a 5 minutes break. Do something that just like, like at least you can still have your break. But you have to be disciplined. Like, you have to be disciplined, you have to be really consistent. Try and read as much as you can. And like, if you work really well, like, you see that like, oh, by the time you've come back, you've studied what you've learned today, maybe like you did that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like you have Saturday and Sunday to kind of rest, or like you can use the early hours of Saturday to kind of do the things you didn't like finish. Like, maybe Monday's work had to be pushed to Tuesday, or Tuesday's work had to be pushed to Wednesday. And one thing I always do, like I used to speak to like some of my friends about, is that like, if I get back from school and I try to read the stuff I learned on Monday and I don't finish them, I'm not going to push it to Tuesday. When Tuesday comes, I'm going to do Tuesday's own and finish it. I'm going to do Wednesday's one and finish it. Then the one I didn't finish on Monday, I do it on Saturday, or when I have free time, Friday, or within the week I do it. But when you carry Monday's own push to Tuesday, and you're still doing Monday's own by Wednesday, or you're still doing Tuesday's own by Thursday, you just feel like, oh, you're slow, or you're not doing so much. But by the time, like, oh, maybe you learned 5 notes on Monday, you've done 3, you have just 2 remaining, you move to Tuesday, you can finish Tuesday's own, you move to Wednesday, do Wednesday. So like, maybe on Saturday you probably just have 5 notes, maybe 1 from each day like that you didn't finish. But when you try to do all that 5 on Monday and you're just dragging it and you're tired with your assignment, you kind of now have a lot to do, and it pushes in into the next week. And one thing I would advise students is that, like, whenever you're reading, all the notes they taught you that week, try to finish it that week before you go to the next week, even if it means sometimes sacrificing your weekend. So just finish it like Saturday, Sunday, just clear it, so that when you're starting a new week, with a new you. Like, you're more, like, you just feel more motivated because you've ticked all the notes that like you've learned that week. But when you have stuff that are just pouring over to the next week, and then you're starting Monday, Mondays are not always like the best days, and you're starting Monday with like notes from Friday, notes from last week Tuesday, it just feels like very like overwhelming. Another like reading method that you could use is teach someone else. I used to feel like, oh, I can only study by myself. I still do that, but like, it helped a lot when like I spoke to like people about it, and I'll just talk. I'll be like, oh, Nana, do you know that this is this? And I should tell my friends that, like, oh guys, I want to teach you something. Everybody remind me later, like by the time we're done reading, tell me this. Or like, if you feel like, oh, you're not around people, or you're reading in the library, then speak. Like, you could record your yourself talking on your phone. Like, if you don't like to see, some people don't like to like see their faces, just record like maybe a voice note on maybe a group on WhatsApp created for just you, and like by yourself, or just record on like your voice speaker app, and then just talk, act like you're teaching somebody, because like when you speak it, then you actually know it. That's like one thing you can do to like maybe make yourself like feel accountable, because some people feel like, oh, I don't understand this thing, I'm not just saying it well. But when you realize that, like, if I tell you to teach me now, you can actually teach me, and then if you can teach me, you can write it in your exam, and if you can write it in your exam, you can pass that exam. Another thing you can do is like use spaced repetitions. Don't just read your notes once. Like, whenever you get the chance to, like, if there's stuff that like you did, I started that, oh, this is something I have to like come back to. Don't just wait till like your revision week, because anything can happen. They might take it off, or they might try to make your exams come sooner, and like things you think, oh, like used to work for you before won't work for you now. So like, try to like read it as much as possible, like if you have the time. But even with this like method I have taught you guys, or reading it the day they send it, and then like reading it during your revision week created for yourself, and then reading it maybe the day before the exam, the night before the exam, that's already twice plus, like, or 3 times, or 2.5 times, because maybe you might not have the time to finish everything. But when you realize that, like, if you've highlighted important stuff when you're reading it again for the 10th time, which is like the night before your exam, you basically have checked off that notes because you've read the important highlighted stuff. Another thing you need to do is like staying consistent and not perfect. Like some people feel like, oh, I'll just not read at all, let me just take a break. It's okay to take a break, but then you now try to pull a 10-hour all-nighter just once a week. It's better to read like 1 to 2 hours or even 30 minutes every day than just pull one strange long, like you're just stressing your brain for nothing. And I realized that like, Jesus, everything is a lot. You're just not now done everything. Because if pharmacology you want to read once a week, like you're setting yourself up for like some massive failure. Do you get what I'm saying? So just try to stay consistent. Don't try to be perfect and just say, oh, you just do this, or I'm going to this is a new this, and like you say, oh wow, this is a new session, I'm going to like start reading 10 hours per day, I'm going to start reading 5 hours. You have to set stuff that are realistic, but be delusional with yourself too. You must combine the two, because you can actually do more than you think you can do, but don't overwork yourself. At the same time, don't just set little goals, like challenge yourself to do better. And I think lastly, take care of your body, sleep well, eat well. You guys, one very funny thing is that my motivation whenever I'm studying is good food. Like it excites me so much knowing the delivery rider is on his way. So like I'm just like waiting for them to come. I'm like firing on. I want to finish this note before, like it makes me so happy. It's so funny, but it's always worked for me. Actually doing this my MBBS exam, just I feel like I was just getting fat. I was eating, I was glowing, I was happy, I was studying and crying too, all of the above. But in general, I just hope like this has been able to help you. In summary, listen really deeply in class. Try to take short notes or little notes, concise notes, or like whatever the lecturer is saying. When you go back, try and study that note they sent you. At least it like in 48 hours, like the day and the next day. It shouldn't be like dragging. It should be more than 5 days. How can you learn something on Monday and reading it for the first time on Friday? By the time you're like actively taking notes in class, it just feels like it's dragging. So by studying that notes that day, like you'll have made everything faster for yourself. You see that it's easier. Sometimes you understand so much in class that it makes you so excited to go back and read that note, because it's like you're going to understand it so well. And when you're reading, try to make like little concise notes. Don't waste your time jotting. Most of the times you don't even come back to all those jottings. Highlight if you're able to. Try to do the big work earlier, and then later on you can rest and lazy read on your bed. Just go. Try to maybe use textbook for reference, watch videos, whatever type of learner you are, like focus on that more. Try to plan, and write the list of notes that like you have been taught, like maybe for that particular semester or particular module, however like they do it in your school. Try to plan for your revision. Try to at least be able to revise 1-2 weeks before the exam, so you're not revising for the first time the night before your exam. Imagine how funny that is. Try to plan well so that at least when you're revising, maybe there's some notes you haven't done, you can chip that in. Not that like the night before your exam you have 10 notes that you're reading afresh for the first time. I mean, come on, how do you expect to like pass that exam? The night before your exam and the morning before, you can be reading like highlighted stuff, just the highlighted stuff. Just read it, because they're mostly MCQ stuff. You can read the little jottings like you did like make in class. I told you, always prepare for surprises. Some people are very good at sending past question 1 a.m. or 5 a.m. or even 6 a.m. or even 30 minutes close to the exam, but because you've had like spare hours or spare days that like you're prepared for surprise notes, surprise tests, surprise revision classes, then like that way like you stay prepared. Try to protect your peace, try to stay happy, try to focus on your mental health. Do not overwork yourself. You're not dumb, you're not smart, you're not an illiterate, you're not someone that was born naturally dumb. You're just not disciplined. And I hope that like I was able to like give you key points that like can now make you disciplined, that can now make you consistent. Trust yourself, you're going to do so good. Guys, I really want you to comment something for me. Maybe comment, if you've gotten to this part of the video, comment when next you're taking your big exam. Like you can just be like, hi, I'm maybe writing my MBBS in 2024 this, or I'm writing my my first semester exam this, and then like so that I can hold you accountable. And when that particular month reaches, I will come back to this video, I'll read the comments, and I'll say, oh, like how was it, and I want you guys to give me good news, you did so well, like I'm so proud of every one of you. I don't even know you but like I believe that like if you just focus on yourself, no, you can add additional stuff, you can listen to other people and like add their study skills. Do not overwhelm yourself, I think, and I know that you can do it if only you first of all believe in yourself. Go and be that academic weapon and bring your distinctions to me, okay? Also, look forward to the next series where I'll be talking to you about how to prepare for your MBBS exam. This is for 300 level students who need to like know how to, like what do they need to do, how they need to start, do they need textbook, past questions, and all those stuff. So, see you guys in my next video. Mwah.